Alright, welcome back to the channel. So today we've been talking about the Cull. So if you don't know what the Cull is, it's basically just a way to move a card from in the hand's ribbon spread elsewhere in the deck, right? So that's what the Cull is fundamentally. But just a short disclaimer, I don't really do the Cull in its entirety all that much. What I do is basically just the control part of the Cull as sort of a companion piece to other slides. But for the steal, it's kind of like, yeah, I don't really do that like all that much, so that's just a disclaimer, right? You can go look up other resources that have more detail than mine in the description or at the end of the video. So yeah, so don't trust everything that I say, but you know, that's, you know, yeah, it's a thing. So as per usual, I like to start with a bit of history. So the Cull, I believe in its most fundamental, or like in its most basic form, was first published by Professor Hoffman back in 1876 in Modern Magic. The Cull that we know today was first published in 1910 in a book called Kartenkunst or something. It's German for card arts, by Johann Nepomuk Hofzinser. But there's also a form of the Cull that's different from every other variation in expert card technique that was first published in 1940. There we go. But the one that I'm going to be teaching today is going to be the Hofzinser Cull. But I'll briefly touch on the expert card technique Cull just because, you know, it's a Cull that I think it's interesting and other people should know about it. But yeah, so let's get started with the mechanics of the Cull. So before we start with the Cull, I just want to start off with a prerequisite, and that is the in the hands ribbon spread. This isn't going to be a tutorial for the in the hands ribbon spread, but I'm just going to fine tune it just a bit. So normally when you do an in the hands ribbon spread, you notice how large and, you know, how like it displays every single card. But for this, for a spread Cull, we don't want that. For a spread Cull, when you do an in the hands ribbon spread, you want something that's a lot more smaller and that displays individual cards a lot better. So for the spread Cull, when you do a when you grip the cards, you'll notice that the cards are resting on my index, middle, and ring finger over here in my right hand, and my pinky finger is supporting them from the back, and my thumb is clamping down on the cards. That's what my right hand is doing. My left hand is going to be pushing the cards just a bit, right? Just like one or two cards at a time. So when I push off a couple of cards, my right hand is over here receiving them. And then when I close the spread to push more cards into my right hand, you'll notice that when I close it, these cards are sort of jutting into my left thumb over here, right? So this continues, I push a few more cards, and then this rhythm continues until I go through the entire deck. So this is how I handle the spreading portion of the spread Cull. So you'll notice that when I push the cards into my right hand, it's not in one smooth motion, right? It is in multiple pushes. And that's because I want to expose each and every individual card in the spread. So then I can target the ones that I want to Cull. So in this case, if I want to target the Ace of Spades, I can just look through the spread and then I can find it. So it's over here. And this is very important because I want the card, the target card that I want to Cull, basically just one or two cards away in my left hand. If the card is in my right hand, then it's going to be sort of a lost cause because I need both hands to Cull this card. So yeah, that's basically it for basically the in the hands ribbon spread for the spread Cull. So now that we've covered the in the hands ribbon spread, we can go over to the stealing portion of the Cull. So actually, let me just give it a cut. So now we're looking for Ace of Spades. So again, we're going to be pushing through the deck. And I've spotted my Ace of Spades. Now 2 things are going to be happening at once. So we have our card over here. This, my right hand portion is essentially going to push over back to the left to cover this card, right? It's going to cover the target card. And my left hand, my left thumb is going to clamp on the card, the first card of the right hand, right? So this is what happens. This smears over and this card is going to be clamped by my other hand. So now this is what's seen below. Sorry, I'm going to turn on autofocus again. Over here. Right, so this is what's going to happen. You're over here, and you're going to clamp over here. So now you'll notice that this card is hidden beneath the spread, and it's sort of doing its own thing over here. But because it's hidden by the spread, this gives me the opportunity for my ring and my middle finger to just drag this card to the right over here. Right, sorry, it's a bit hard to see, so I'll just shift it over here. You're over here, and now my fingers are curling until it clears this packet over here. So now it's just sort of loose over here, and the only thing that is holding onto the card are my index, middle, and ring finger over here, right? That's what the steel basically looks like. So once again, I'm spreading through until I spot my target card over here. I cover everything, and my left thumb clamps on everything above of the target card. And here my fingers are going to drag it off to the right over here. So it is very important that your pinky stays in the back, because this will act as a guide rail for the spread as well as the target card. So if my pinky isn't here for the target card, there is a chance that this will flash from the back. So we can see it's over here. But if my pinky is over there, then you can see that I can actually use my pinky to guide it along over here. And now you won't see it as much. Right, I'm doing it slow, so it was kind of ugly, but you get the point, right? So the pinky is there to prevent any like further flashing. It's basically what it is, right? So yeah. So now that we've gone over the stealing portion, for the control of a single card, it's relatively simple. So over here. So now that I have my target card over here, I steal it over here, I drag it to the right, so now it is over here until it clears the rest of the packet. So when I drag the card all the way here, what I want it to do is that I want it to contact basically my palm over here, right? So I want it all the way there. So this is just in case. You don't really have to do that, but this is just in case that the card doesn't clear in its entirety from the spread, right? Because there are instances where I've had this like a corner over here still be stuck over on the spread over to the left. So I want it to be touching the palm to make sure that it's entirely clear from the rest of the spread before I do anything else, right? Sorry, I'll just move it back into the center. There we go. So once again, I find my target card, I cover it, I clamp over everything, and I pull the card free until it touches my palm. And then for the control, what you want to do is that you want to remain consistent with the rest of the actions, right? So here I just continue spreading until I reach the end of the spread, and from there I could just close everything, and my card is now on top of the deck. So here I spot my card, cover, clamp, pull, And what you'll notice is that when I continue to push the cards, I'm actually feeding them above of the selection over here. Right, so this is what happens over here. Over here, and now I could close the spread, and now it's on top. Right, this is just a fundamental handling of the spread cull. Now we can go over a multiple card handling of the spread cull, which is essentially just like the exact same as you know, a single card spread cull, but you're going to do it multiple times. So in this case, if I want to target the aces, so here I cull one card, but it stays there. So this stays there, and I continue to look for all the other aces over here. So here I spot my other card. I'm going to do the exact same thing as a normal single card spread cull, but when I steal it, what I want to do is I want to steal it above, or sort of like, yeah, I want to steal it below of the card that I culled beforehand. So if you notice, sorry, I'll just give this a shuffle real quick. So if you notice that if I cull a card and I cull another card on top of the card, you'll notice that I don't really have any place to grip this card, right? So I can't really steal the card without ruining the rest of the spread. So what I want to do is that when I cull, sorry, whoops. So what I want to do is that when I cull multiple cards, I want to make sure that every card is below of the initial card that I spread, just so then my fingers can contact it and drag it off to the side. Because if not, then everything falls apart. So it is imperative that the card is culled below of the card that was culled before, right? That's just sort of the mistake that I made when I first started culling. I don't know why, but I culled it above of the card, so my cull just never worked. So, you know, that's something you should take note of. So you should continue basically to cull just a single card until you've reached the end of, you know, every card that you want to cull over here. That's a problem. Right, so now all four aces are on top, right? So in the case where two cards that you want to cull are right next to each other, right, so you saw it happen, right? So in the case where two cards are on top of each other that I want to cull, basically I just did a cull, and I did like a full push off, right? I just basically expanded, I basically just pushed the same card out and then pulled it back in, just as if like I pushed more cards again, right? So this is basically what I did, is that I did this, I pulled it back, and then I just respread it, right? So this is just sort of like a bluff spread to make it seem like I pushed more cards off to the spread, but in reality it's just the same card, right? Because I don't want to break the motion and then just cull two cards at once. That's gonna be really odd. So for a spread cull, I really want to keep the same rhythm throughout the entire spread, right? That is something that I think is extremely important. So that's the spread cull for multiple cards. But in case that you're afraid of the card flashing, what you want to do is that you can have the cards in your right hand be messy. So over here you can see like, oh yeah, every card is pretty messy. and this will act as a great cover for any card that I want to cull, right? So now the mess hides everything because, you know, it's pretty much, you know, jutting out. Cards are like jutting in, right? So it provides perfect cover for it. Not to mention that even if a corner is seen, so over here, a corner is seen over here, it doesn't really matter because for a spread, you'll notice that a lot of the cards will have a corner jutting out. So it doesn't really matter because it blends in really well. So ultimately, for a spread cull, it doesn't really matter all that much. So as promised beforehand, I'll also be touching over the culling technique that's used in expert card technique. I'm just going to briefly go over it, but since I don't really use it, but you know, it's an option that I think you guys can research. I'm only going to be teaching the single card cull for this one, so yeah. So you're just going to repeat the same motion as the Hofzinser spread cull, but for this one, you're going to want to clamp down on the card that you want to cull with your left thumb, and you're basically going to contact the card that's below of the card that you want to steal. So hold on, I'm just going to turn it face up. So you're going to contact this card. Sorry. There we go. So we're going to contact this card over here, right? And what you're going to do is that you're going to use your thumb to slide the card out of the spread from the front, leaving this card in your right hand. So once again, I'm over here. I'm spreading through the deck until I spot my target card. My thumb contacts it, and my middle and ring finger contact this card over here. So now I pull this card free, and through friction, this card stays in the right hand spread. And now I just, as I close the spread to get more cards, this card goes on top, and now I can continue going through the deck. Right, so you'll notice that this is fundamentally different from the Hofzinser spread cull, but still maintains a lot of the same elements, but sort of inversed. So we can go ahead and play around with that. So early on I mentioned that the spread cull can be used to displace a card. I didn't say necessarily where, and that's because it can be used to stack a deck, right? I'm not necessarily the best at like stacking decks, right, using the cull, but for a simple stacking, for example, a simple displacement, if I want to use a sandwich, so if I want to have a card sandwich, right, instead of controlling the culled card to the top or the bottom, what I can do is that I can actually cull the card in between of the sandwiches, of the sandwich cards, and then that'll be it, right? And that'll be it, and it'll be in the center of the sandwiches, right? So so yeah, that was just an application idea. So application wise, you can obviously use it as control, but you can obviously use it as a displacement to stack the deck or move it in between the sandwiches or whatnot, right? So that's a little tidbit of application ideas that you can use for the spread cull. Alright, so that was it. That was the spread cull. Sorry, it's a relatively long tutorial, but I do think that it is an extremely important tool for those who want to, you know, have a versatile tool in their arsenal, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. But yeah, so practice it well. For further resources, which I would highly encourage you to do, since I don't think my spread cull is perfect, you can go ahead and look at Harapan Ong's Close Culls, which I believe is a video download. For further resources, you can go ahead and look at Costa Kimlat's Roadrunner Cull, which is the thing that he used to fool Penn and Teller, so you can go ahead and look at that. But besides that, I think that's about it. I think that's about it for the cull. I'll post any remaining like resources at the end of this segment and at the link of the and at the comments down below, right? But yeah, that's about it for the spread cull, and yeah, see you guys next time.